Okay, it's 6:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. So this is the March 23rd meeting regular meeting for the Municipal Council of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal for the month of March. And I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to, in a minute, call for approval of the agenda as amended with the addition of 8L. As amended, add 8L. 8L is to set the date for a public meeting under the Planning Act. So I don't know who has the motion to approve the agenda, but I think it's Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Me. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Those in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening?
No.
Chair notes that there were no disclosures. And item number 4 on the agenda is delegations and presentations. We have none this evening. And moving to item number 5 on the agenda is the minutes of the previous council meeting. Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the regular meeting dated February 24th, 2020.
Okay, the minutes of the February 24th meeting are on the floor. Are there any errors or omissions? No errors or omissions. I'm going to call the question on receiving the minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. And now I'll proceed then to item number 6 on the agenda, which is business arising, if any, from that meeting. Does anyone have anything to bring forward? So I have a couple of things that I'm just going to bring forward. On page 3 of 62, just point out that as of this point, and I'm looking at item number 7C, there was an inquiry about the town of Prescott with respect to snow plowing at New Wexford. So just think that that is still a hanging issue. I don't know that it's been followed up yet, at least I haven't heard that. So I'm assuming that that will come forward again at the Min Finance meeting in April. And I had a couple of other things that I just wanted to highlight from this meeting. If I can find them here quickly. No, I guess that was it. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, yes, staff has contacted Prescott to discuss that, and hopefully in the next few months we'll continue some discussions to see if there's opportunity there.
Okay, and it looks like we probably won't need to worry about it until about October, but maybe November.
Certainly the plan was that if we could reach an agreement, it would be something that would go to the fall of 2020.
Okay, very good. And now I'm on item number 7. And item number 7 is the approval of various committee minutes that were held during the month. And the first is a Public Library Board meeting of January the 7th. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that the Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated January 7th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions with regard to the minutes of this meeting? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to 7B, the Port Management Committee of February the 19th, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, the Municipality Council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated February 9th, 2020.
February 19th, I think it should say.
February 19th, 2020.
Okay, thank you. And the motion does say the 19th. Are there any questions with regard to the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. The next is 7C, Committee of the Whole meeting of February the 20th. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Admin and Finance Budget Meeting number 4 dated February 20th.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried, thank you. And item number 7D, Committee of the Whole, Budget Meeting number 5, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Admin and Finance Budget Meeting number 5 dated February 27th, 2020.
Motion is on the floor. Questions, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And 7E, the Community Development Committee, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of Community Development Committee meeting dated March 2nd, 2020.
Questions, if any, as a result of that meeting?
I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
There's brought up that there are some requests about having their packages a lot earlier than on Friday to review them. I wonder if that had been kind of, a decision been made on that, because I think we all get our packages on Friday, so.
I think there was good discussion at the committee level about that issue, and I think the majority of folks were able to arrive at an understanding that Friday was the most appropriate date to accommodate both staff needs and councillor needs. Okay, and so now I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And cite item 7F, the Committee of the Whole from March the 9th, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the Municipality Council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated March 9th, 2020.
Okay, now the motion's on the floor. I'm just going to make, first of all, is there any discussion from council? Okay, so hearing none, I'm just going to make one comment, and it's just a concern for staff. I'll just point it out. It's on page 47 of 262, and under the item marked D, which would that be, what are we here? I see committee recommends that council, this one now, 46. B is there. So D, 7D, establish a capital reserve fund. And I did indicate to CAO today that when these motions come forward like this, I would like to see a little bit more wording so that it's clear that that dedicated capital reserve fund is to receive the extra 1.5% that we're going to be getting from the port. And I think that same comment will appear somewhere later in the agenda. So that's my only comment about the minutes. About to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And now I'm at 7G, Committee of the Whole meeting, March 16th. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities meeting dated March 16th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm on item 8, which is the action and information items that are coming forward from the committees. The first is 8A, the insurance premium. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council increase the public library deductible. Liability deductible, I'll start over. That municipal council increase the public liability deductible to $25,000 to reduce the overall insurance premiums from BFL for 2020 as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to item 8B, severance application warrants. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council, 1, recommend in favor of severance B-10-20 with the condition that severance B-11-20 and B-12-20 be granted by the consent granting authority. 2, recommend in favor of severance B-11-20 with the condition that severance B-12-20 be granted by the consent granting authority. And 3, recommend in favor of severance B-12-20 as recommended by the Community Development Committee.
Okay, very complicated set of severances here. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and compliments to the staff for bringing this forward, first to the CDC and then here. It was a very complicated setup, but very made sense when you spent the time to study. And so thank you. And so now moving to 8C, vested tax sale properties. Councillor Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council, 1, write off the tax receivable amount of $1,182.71 related to the roll number 0701 701 045 03301 as set out in the appropriation meant to each taxing authority, and 2, write off the tax receivable amount of $2,800.65 related to roll number 0701 701 050 02500 as set out in the
For the apportionment.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To each taxing authority as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Very good. So that means that the county will get taken. How do we do that? We write it off. Do we get money back from the counties, or how does that work?
Usually it's just an adjustment on the levy, each quarter, the levy that we did.
Right. So we just take credit for that amount.
Yeah.
Okay, so another interesting little cleanup here. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm moving to 8D, Assessment Management Program. Councillor Hunter.
Myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipal council receives and accepts the asset management plan as required by the Ministry of Infrastructure as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And 8E, Fort Town Night Run. Councillor Dillaban.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the municipality council supports and approves request for land closure on Windmill Road during the Fort Town Night Run event on September 26, 2020, and that the notification be provided to affected residents as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
And just take a look at the sheet that you have in front of you. Is this a request for a land closure or lane closures?
Land closure.
I think it's lane
It's
closures.
lane.
I got land here though.
I think it should be lane. We'll just make the change when he gets here. Or
Want
you
me
can
to make it
there.
initial?
Yeah. I think you want to close a lane on Windmill
You
Road.
need 2 signatures?
Yes, just initial it. Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. 8F, Cardinal Edwardsburg Industrial Park Water System Summary Reports. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor John Hunter, that municipal council receive the 2019 water summary reports for Cardinal and the Edwardsburg Industrial Park water systems, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you. One moment, please, to have it caught up. So the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And now we're at the Prescott Water System Annual Report. Again, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor John Hunter, that municipal council receive the 2019 water annual summary report for the Prescott water systems, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now H, is it H? Yes,
Yep.
again, still
Yep,
Deputy
still
Mayor
me.
Deschamps.
Yep. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor John Hunter, that municipal council approves the 2020 budget estimates for the industrial park wastewater system as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. And we've had hashed that one out pretty good. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now we're on to 8I, at last, the Ontario Job Site Challenge Submission. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron, whereas in February 2019, the province of Ontario put forward a job site challenge and competition open to the municipalities, Economic Development Corporation, industrial developers for sites of 500 to 1,500 acres, which are or can be made investment ready and capable of attracting large-scale manufacturing industry. And whereas a joint letter over the signature of the Minister of Economic Development, the Minister of Municipality Affairs, and Housing dated February 20, 2019, addressed the heads, Council Minister Stephen Clark and Minister Todd Smith.
Specifically.
Referred to the job site challenge and commits to working with the successful proponents to make sure the development opportunity are competitive. And whereas the province of Ontario, through Infrastructure Ontario, already owns large-scale acreages in the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, which would meet the requirements of large-scale manufacturing development. And whereas on February 25th, 2019, the Council and Corporation of Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal responded to the Ontario Job Site Challenge by nominating the township in large tract of land owned by the province located in the Edwardsburg Land Bank. And whereas the Council and Corporation of Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal indicated in resolution number 2019-67 that the township would commit to working with the province of Ontario to help create a competitive investment-ready site attracted to a proponent capable of development of large-scale manufacturing facility which will bring good paying jobs to the region. And whereas the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal worked with our engineer firm Record, our experienced staff has assembled a strong team capable of working with the province of Ontario under the direction of elected councillor, firmly focused on industrial growth and development to bring the Cedar Grove site to investment-ready status in expeditious and timely manner. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council and Corporation of Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal hereby approves and endorses the final draft of the Cedar Grove Road site proposal and response summary table immediate for submission to the Ontario Job Site Challenge and direct staff to ensure that the complete submission is received by March 31st, 2020 deadline.
Very good. Motion is coming forward. Councillor Cameron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the table. Any discussion? Calling for a recorded vote on the motion. I'm gonna call the roll. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps?
Yay.
And myself is yea, so the motion is carried. I'm gonna mark it unanimous. And,
Make sure staff, you guys don't forget to get that in by March 31st, 2020.
well, it's going faster than that. Now, the unfortunate part about this is that,
Pigeons already tied up, ready to go.
what's that? What's that?
Got the pigeons already tied up, ready to go.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little, just at the end of the meeting, we'll have a little signing ceremony where councilors can sign the submission page. And unfortunately, there's so much other things going on with this COVID-19 issue that it's gonna take some of the wind out of our sails, but I just wanna recognize council's commitment to the submission, and also recognize the staff commitment to the commission. And I think Novatech has done an excellent job for us preparing our submission, so. Not finished yet, I'll speak more about it during the mayor's report. And so now I'm at item J on the agenda, and before I bring item J forward bring the motion forward, I want to spend some time on the briefing note that's in front of us, because this is a recent issue that has not gone before committee. And it's the issue of, do we extend the March 31st deadline, tax deadline, or do we not? In the motion paper that's in front of us, Councillor Cameron will be moving it, is an either-or kind of thing. And so as a result of the discussion that we have, he'll be scratching out one of the options and we'll be going with the other option. And you can see the two options that are presented to us. Remain with the status quo. The 2020 interim tax bill deadline is March the 31st. We leave it that way. And we provide, upon application, the treasurer of the municipality has the authorization under the Act to enter into agreements with people to extend their deadline. That's one option. Leave it to the treasurer. And the second option is to extend the 2020 interim tax bill deadline by a month from March the 31st to April the 30th, which will require the interim tax bylaw to be amended. Now, the floor is open for discussion. I have a few more things to say, but I'd like to hear some comments from around the table before I make my comments. So, start with Councillor Cameron.
Yes, just on the briefing note, the third paragraph that starts, to date, the township has received 769 tax payments totaling such and such, such and such. I'm just wondering, how many, like that's 769, out of how many?
Through the chair, our total tax bills are just over 3,000.
Okay, so we're a considerable way off.
It's very typical of the amount of money we receive by this point in time.
Yes.
A lot of people do hold off and pay their tax bill towards the end. As you can see, there are post-dated checks and payments as well of 633, the last count when I did this information item.
So 633 is in addition to the
Yeah.
769,
Yeah,
and then as well as the 660, is that in addition as well?
it is,
So we add those three up,
yeah.
okay. Now, I haven't done that, so it looks to me like it's just over 1,500, about, just under 2,000.
Correct.
Would
So
I be correct?
more than 50% of our tax.
Okay, so we've got
Accounts
about
have been
probably
paid.
2/3 in. Okay, that's, that was all my questions, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else?
Anybody else want in here?
Well,
Councillor Hunter.
I don't really see any point in extending it at this point in time. We're a week away from the tax deadline. Most people have already made arrangements to pay. If not, we have made it quite clear there's a payment option that can be set up right until the 31st. All they gotta do is contact the treasurer and set up a monthly payment plan. I was in today and spoke to her, and it's divided into 10 equal payments, so if they haven't got enough to pay the whole thing. If it's divided into 10, they should be able to make 1/10 for the payment now. If they can't, giving them another month to pay half of it isn't gonna help them any, so.
Councillor Dillabaugh wants in.
I'm just the opposite of Councillor Hunter. I'm sorry, I think there's gonna be a lot of people in the next 2 weeks that won't have any money to pay at the end of the month for sure. And for me to go to April 30th, 2020, I don't even think that's enough. I think we should be looking at May, maybe even June of 2020.
Councillor Cameron.
Yes, just to follow up. I was one of the councillors that received a phone call regarding the tax deadline. And it's only been about a week or 10 days that people have actually been laid off, even though we're 1 week away from deadline. I understand that, but they've only had about a week or 10 days with no money coming in or have been laid off. At least that's the story that I was informed of. So I would support the 30 days. I would actually like to see 60 days, to be quite truthful, Mr. Mayor. I really think that this is, I mean, we just heard today that all non-essential businesses are to be shut down. We just heard that today. It goes into effect tomorrow. That means there's going to be more people that are on the unemployment line, and yes, they can apply immediately for unemployment, but unemployment is only a portion of their regular salary. I just think we should be leaders here in this situation, because our township has already collected 2/3 of our tax bill, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in, but I'm feeling for the people that are going to be suffering here in the coming couple of months. I don't think this is going to be over in 2 weeks.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, the timeline is concerning for me as well. There are so many questions, especially how the COVID-19 pandemic response evolves rapidly and continues to do so. So a lot can change between now and even in March 31st. As Councillor Cameron said earlier today, all non-essential is shut down as of tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of people at work. So I think they're going to be worried about food and survival more than they're going to be worried about a tax bill. And I know that affects the township because it provides a service and it is a business as well. But if we can offer some form of relief to them in 60 days, 90 days, something like that, I'd certainly be in support of that.
Okay, so I said I'd speak last, and right up until late this afternoon, I was of the opinion that we should try to maintain our March 31st deadline, because one of the worries that the treasurer has, and I know what she's saying, even though she has 633 post-dated tax payments, those tax payments will be post-dated to March 31st, and if we extend this deadline, those people can ask that check not be executed, not be transacted, thus delaying that check passing through their account. And I can understand that that's a worry. However, what changed for me this afternoon was when I met with a businessman, and he said, Pat, whatever you can do, we will have no cash flow. He told me that his business is down more than 80%. He said, I have no cash flow right now whatsoever. It's all I can do to make my day-to-day operating costs, and even if I can get a 30-day extension on my taxes, it will make a world of difference to me. I have 3 properties that the taxes are going to be due on March the 31st. And there's quite a difference when you look at this from the point of view of a residence, an individual residence, and a business, because business survives on cash flow. But even going to the residential argument, and thinking about people that are being laid off, anybody that's been laid off in the last, let's say, week or 10 days, has received their ROE, their record of employment form, and they can apply immediately, and there will be no wait period. However, the Unemployment Insurance Office has received 500,000 applications in the last 10 days. Even if they applied the day that they received their ROE, for the time it's going to take for the bureaucrats to turn those around and get checks out the door, those people are going to be waiting 3 weeks for their first check. And, you know, so I think I'm going to err on the side of giving people just a little bit more time. And I'll support April the 30th if that's the option that Councillor Cameron brings forward when he brings the motion forward. Was there anybody that'd like to make counter arguments?
I don't know whether the counter argument, I feel for the business too, I'm a small business too, had an income wiped out, but it gives people, we have the treasurer has the option if people are in hard shape to waive interest payments and stuff. You're still gonna have to pay the taxes at the end of the day, and I think it's giving people a false sense of security, saying you don't have to pay your mortgage and you don't have to pay your taxes, and the hydro's not going to be shut off or anything. All these bills are going to come due at the end of time, and instead of trying to proportion them out and trying to work out something along the way to pay them, they're going to end up one huge big debt to pay all at one time. And once this ends, and it will end, maybe it'll take 2 months, 3 months, maybe it'll take 4 months. But once it ends, the banks and stuff aren't going to be lenient then. They're going to want their money right then. So I agree, and if that's what the township wants to do, extend it, I'm fine with that. But I'm just putting forward that I don't think you're helping anybody by giving them the false sense that you're going to give them another month or 2 months to pay it. It's just, I'd sooner see them come in and just say, I'm in a hard time here, will you, to the treasurer and say, can you waive the interest on this until I can pay it, than just waive it that we're going to say, no, you don't have to do nothing until 2 months down the road, so.
Okay, so I just want to check one thing with the treasurer. Under the authority delegated to you in your statutory position, through the CAO, if I may, through the CAO to the treasurer, do you have the ability to waive interest, or just to make the agreement for the 10 payments?
Through the chair, the act itself gives me a section called 357, where individuals who are experiencing extreme poverty or through sickness can make application to the township through the treasurer to reduce, cancel, refund taxes. Interest would be part and parcel with that, but I think we're focusing on interest, and interest on most of people's taxes for a month would be under $25. So I think if we're waiving interest, that $25 is not gonna help, as Councillor Cameron or Councillor Hunter is saying, that's not gonna help in the interim. If we really have individuals that are hurting, they should come to the township and look at not just interest waived, but if there is an application for poverty or sickness, then that needs to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, so that the people who can pay will pay, the people who can't, we can work with. And I can bring those applications to council, and we can help the right people.
Okay, so it worries me that the act says poverty, because in many of these cases, and I'm thinking of the businessman that I was talking to today, it's not a question of poverty, it's just a question of cash flow, and I have no business right now. So, do you call that poverty? I don't know how you'd describe it.
It's the only part out of the act I scrutinized,
Yeah.
the act on Friday.
So you have to use
I
that.
have to, like, just waiving interest is not in my power, it's not even
Yeah.
in council's power.
Right.
Hold on. So being a business owner and having my employees, I laid them off this week, made that decision. None of them are sick, but the reason for their layoff is sickness. And in the ROE, it's written in as COVID-19. So If sickness and poverty is one of those options, then I think if it applies to an ROE for employees that are laid off, then it probably applies in the same way there.
I would say that that's the only section of the act that I feel that both council and myself has any lenience in terms of being able to, and it's not just interest.
We're not the only ones.
We can reduce, refund, or even cancel taxes for individuals who are really suffering from the impact of this particular thing.
Okay,
And it's not to be taken lightly, and that's why I think it'd be better if it was done on an individual basis, and you know, I've always worked really well with any individual who I'm having, is having issues, and they have that as an option within the act.
so I guess what I want to say in response to that, and I've already had this discussion with the treasurer sort of privately, and with the CAO, but there are two elements to this, and I know that the meeting is being videotaped, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are two elements to this, and one is the administrative element, and I have full confidence in the authority, or in the ability of our staff to work with it if we leave it as March the 31st. However, the other side of this is the public perception of what are the elected officials around this table doing to accommodate our taxpayers. And I'm gonna hang my hat when I vote on what we as an elected group are doing to help our residential and business taxpayers. And I'm gonna use the April 30th as we extended the tax deadline by a month to give you a little bit more time to get alternative financing arrangements in place, and hope that we don't need any more than 30 days. So back to Councillor, or to Deputy Mayor, and then
And then me.
okay.
Okay, so two points. One, Melanie, and I might have asked this on Monday, and I'm hoping maybe you got a tiny bit of information. I wasn't able to get through to anybody, but through the CAO, sorry. Sorry, I've messed up all the dates. Today's Monday, whatever day the emergency meeting was.
Friday.
The question would be about the people who have mortgages and their tax payment in mortgages. Do we know, or have we found out the implication of that? Because there will be so many people will be deferring those payments, as you know, for that 6 months if a bank offers it. Are we as the township still going to be getting paid from the bank for those payments? That's my question. And if we're not, then our payments are being deferred for any, like my own would be being deferred anyways for 6 months. So I'm hopeful that there may be a tiny bit of clarification for that.
Okay, so through the chair, in the meeting on Friday, that I did indicate that anybody that's in a mortgage, the mortgage is paying on behalf of them, the mortgage company or banking institution will gather that money from the property owner in advance of this March 31st deadline. So they've collected from that individual for the last 6 months or however many months they, from August, probably from August through till March, they'll have collected what they feel is necessary to be able to pay that. They already know in advance what that amount is. So they've collected up till now, and will be submitting that money in March. The problem with the deferral will be when we hit August.
Yep.
So if they do decide to defer any of the payments and not collect from the property owner, by the time we hit August, they may not have collected any money to submit on behalf of the property owner in August. So it won't bother us as much now as it will in the final payment in August.
Now, excuse me, yeah, go ahead.
Through the CAO. So looking forward to August, do we anticipate being paid those from the bank without them collecting from property owners, or are we anticipating a bit of an issue in getting our money on behalf of those mortgages come August?
I expect, I know on a regular basis, Terry, the tax clerk, gets updates from different mortgage companies as to whether, you know, they're going to be not taking from this particular person or whatever. You know, any changes in what they would normally send to us, either on a monthly basis or on by the quarter. So she'll be updated, but we don't know the impact at this point, unfortunately, and how many people might take banks up on this particular
So
deferral.
it'll be a while before we find out the.
It will be a while before we find that information out. Yeah.
And so my second part, back to it is, if I, you know, could, and I know what the discussion's gonna go this way, I think we're only at the beginning of this, you know, pandemic whole deal, and I think, you know, we're just at the beginning of every business being shut down, and, you know, you're hearing cash flow issues now. I mean, it's gonna be cash flow issues by the looks of it for quite a while, looking at places like Italy and others. So the relief that we can offer our citizens, especially in a visual that we're doing our part, minimum 60 days to me, even 90 doesn't seem out of the question.
And Councillor Dillabaugh, then Councillor Cameron.
Just that I don't think April 30th is enough. I'd like to see it to May 30th. That's all I have to say.
Well, we can change it later, but anyway, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, and I concur with everything that's been said around the tables here. And it's very difficult. But I would not support 30 days, I would support 60 days.
Well, you got the motion. Motion's in your
Well,
possession.
We've got to agree to change it, that's the whole thing. So,
No, you put it forward.
Steve actually was ahead of me, but
Well, I'm just gonna make a motion that we
Councillor Cameron has the motion.
I have.
oh, okay, sorry.
can I ask you a question before you try to amend it? If we make a motion now that's 60 days, can we reconsider that before the end of those 60 to add more time to it? Or is it, if we pass it now, it's 60 days,
Well,
is it 60?
well, it says, the briefing, or the motion indicates that it will require the interim tax bylaw to be amended, but that's an amendment to a bylaw. I suppose
So we'd amend it
it's,
and say it again.
the staff would prefer to just amend it once, but there's nothing to say it can't be amended several times. Deputy, or CEO, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one item that we do need to consider is that we collect taxes not only for lower tier, but the county and the school board. And we have payments that need to be,
So we are legislated by their bylaws and by the Education Act to submit a quarterly payment. March 31st is our first quarterly payment, and in the disbursements today, there's about $1.6 million is being forwarded on to those 5 levy authorities. So June 30th, we'll be on the hook for another $1.6 million. So if we don't collect it, we will be pulling that from our own coffers to submit.
Yeah, that will put us into where we go into the cash.
We will be in a cash flow position.
We have the cash flow problem.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do is be content with April the 30th. We've done something. It's given people an extra 30 days to make alternate arrangements. As Councillor Hunter says, these payments don't go away.
Yeah, that's right.
And there are a lot of people that perhaps are not the best money managers, that when that all comes rolling in at the end are going to be really caught in a bad way. Councillor, or Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so and while I get that we're due that payment, looking at what all of our neighbors are doing, all of our neighboring municipalities are doing the same thing. They're deferring 60, 90 days for sure. So if they're doing that, then we're not, the only ones. So
Through the chair, there is only 3 other municipalities in the whole Leeds and Leeds and the county that are doing it, and one of them is Augusta because they don't offer a pre-authorized. The other two offer pre-authorized, but their pre-authorized is you need to pay all of your payments in advance of the deadline, so they don't extend past the deadline. So they have collected prior to their due date, so that, you know, they would condense it that you have to pay within 6 months and have all that paid before the 31st of March.
So continue.
So, because we have the option of interest-free, and I think we're probably one of the only municipalities that actually offers that. As Councilor Hunter said, you can pay 1/10 and set up really quickly. We had 21 people, since we've shut down, we've had 21 people apply for pre-authorized,
So, just since we closed our doors.
since we closed our door.
Continue if I can. So through the CEO, if we, so you're saying that you believe that other municipalities are not only going to take a hard line and expect to be paid by March 31st, that if you don't pay by March 31st and choose groceries over paying your taxes, that they're gonna get charged interest by their municipalities?
A lot of them have not waived, have not changed their thing. Like I say, there's only 3 of them that actually have extended their deadline by 30 days.
Okay, Councillor Cameron, what are you gonna do here?
Well, the mover is looking for, looking for a little direction here, to put it one way. Are we going to go with 30 days, or are we going to go with 60 days?
Put the
That's-
motion forward and we'll see what happens.
Well, all right. The motion reads, and thank you, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Hunter, that municipal council, the first box, remain status quo.
No. Which one are you going with? A or B?
Oh, well, sorry, I thought when I put it out, that would be a vote. I personally will go with the second, which is the or, and again, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Hunter, extend the 2020 interim tax bill deadline a month from March 31st, 2020 to May. How many days in May? 30 or 31?
May is 30.
30 to
No,
May.
31. May is 31.
to May 31st, 2020, which will require the interim tax bylaw to be amended.
So you're amending it then?
Here, come in. The motion, okay, that's the motion that's on the floor. Now we'll see what happens with the motion.
Hold on, though. That motion wasn't seconded by John, though, correct?
I second the
Yes, he
30-day
did.
motion.
He seconded the 30-day, you've amended it, so he'd need
Okay,
somebody.
so you want your name off a seconder?
I won't second it for 60 days.
Okay,
I will.
okay, so I have it moved by Councillor Cameron, seconded by Councillor Deschamps, our Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Let me see how I'm gonna do this, just give me 1 second. And I'll get you to just sign for the seconder.
It's not amended yet. What was the date?
May
May
31st,
31st.
2020.
Okay, so now it's moved by Councillor Cameron, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council extend the 2020 interim tax bill deadline a month. Extend the interim tax bill deadline, I'm gonna change it, 2 months from May 31,
March 31st.
we're extending it from March the 31st.
I scratched the wrong one. Extend the 2020 interim tax bill deadline 2 months from March 31st, 2021 to May 31st, 2020, which will require the interim tax bylaw to be amended.
Okay, so that's the motion that's on the floor here now. Now, further discussion. It's got a mover and a seconder, and it's extending from March 31 to May 31. About to call the question on the motion that I have in front of me.
So can we do recorded then, please?
Okay. All right, I'll call the vote and record the vote. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillawa, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And Sayo will go with the yeas. The motion will be carried, it gets extended 2 months. Doesn't mean that people can't still come in and make arrangements with the treasurer. As Councillor Hunter says, they're still due. Okay.
Pay 10 acre payments and spread over the year, then
Yeah.
you're gonna end up with 2 big lump sum payments just a month and a half apart.
That's exactly what's gonna happen.
Sir,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor?
just one item, we will need to call a special council meeting in advance of March 31st to amend the
Okay.
tax bylaw.
okay. And so, I'm going to 8K, industrial parkland, vacant 6 acres, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron. Whereas the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal will submit the Cedar Grove site to the Ontario Job Site Challenge, which may increase investment, attention, and interest opportunities available in and around the Johnstown Industrial Park. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal directs the CEO that the remaining 6 acre parcel of land along County Road 2 is no longer for sale.
Motion is on the table, I think you all understand the reason and the intent. Further discussion, if any? Vote to call the question, those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. And now I have 8L, which was the addition to the agenda, which was to set the date for the BD rezoning. And I'm gonna ask Deputy Mayor Deschamps if he'll bring that forward.
Do we have it?
Yes, it should have been on your place setting.
My next one's correspondence.
There was an extra sheet.
I get one here.
Yeah, here, the CAO has one for you here, late edition.
John?
No, sorry.
All right, shall I go?
Yes,
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council set a public meeting date of April 22nd, 2020 for the zoning bylaw amendment at 2039 County Road 44, as recommended at the Community Development Committee meeting dated March the 2nd, 2020.
thank you. And those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, and there was some, the motion is carried. There was some discussion, and the staff has some concerns about holding a public meeting during this period when there's supposed to be no more than 5 people gathering, but as you can see, first of all, the chamber has been, the seating in the chamber's been adjusted. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we don't very often get very many people at these public meetings. And the third thing is that the business of governance has to go on, crude as it may be. And the particular applicant here has a pending sale that depends on this zoning bylaw amendment. Now, if, on the other hand, things change drastically between now and April the 22nd, change drastically for the worse, and we're prohibited from holding any kind of a meeting, then of course we'll have to cancel it. But the point is that we cannot proceed with it unless the ad goes in the paper next week. All right, so I'm moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, which is correspondence and Deputy Mayor Dation.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the correspondence listings for the following dates as previously circulated. February 27th, 2020, March 12th, 2020, and March 17th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Those in favor? Motion is carried. And now I have the item number 10, which is approval of the municipal disbursements. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council approves payment of the municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated March 13th, 2020-0023, $14,156.50. Report dated March 13th, 2020-0024, $131,619.28. Report dated March 13th, 2020-00025, $187,623.16. And report dated March 19th, 2020-0026, $1,974,558.19, for a total of $2,307,957.13.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Questions of any with the disbursement sheets? Go ahead.
I have a couple, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if I can get some clarification on page 5.
No, give us the sheet number at the bottom of the page.
Page 316 of 388.
So we have up to 262. Okay, do you have the batch number?
Batch 2020 dash
No. Go ahead, what's the last 2 digits?
00026.
26, the last batch.
Page 5.
Page 5 of the last batch. Okay, page 5 of the last batch, and what's your check number? Or excuse me, what's the vendor's name?
Hydro One Network. I don't get 700 Pitson Road, $4,952. Hydro One. Can someone help me out on that, please? What it is?
Certainly can, through the mayor. That is part of the construction work that was done on Pittston Road. Our unit struck a hydro pole, so that is the cost of the repair to that pole.
Okay. Is that complete now? Is that close, Mr. CEO?
Through the mayor, that should be closed now.
Okay. Halfway down, K.E. Bush and Construction, $9,068. Building repairs. Is that the fire hall, Mr. CEO?
Through the mayor, I'm not sure if that's the latest repairs to the fire department. Are you speaking about fire department building repairs?
Well, yeah, it says FD building and PW building repairs, so I guess it wouldn't be FD would be the fire department?
FD would be fire department, PW would be public works. I'll follow up on that for clarity. Get back to you.
Thank you. I have one more, and I don't think we can do anything about it, but I kind of like to see some bills maybe next month towards it. That's page 6, batch number 00262, halfway down, Norton Screen Rentals. $19,569. Is that for the month of March? Or is that, how's that bill? Is that quarterly or for the month?
Typically, that's through the month, but it's various places.
Could we have some, could we see some bills
It
next
would be
week?
just one bill.
One bill?
Yeah,
broken down locations. So
but
we'll,
broken down in location.
Could you, could we?
But that's available from the treasurer's office.
yes, we can certainly. we can
Okay,
certainly
good.
review that.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor. Now, where's the motion? Here it is here. Any further questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, and that gets me to the bylaw. Yes, that gets me to the bylaws. And the first bylaw is 11A, adopting the general estimates. In other words, adopting the budget. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron. Mover to grant leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. And first and second reading of the budget bylaw. Lots of discussion, 5 budget meetings. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously, and so budget bylaw can proceed to third reading. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that a bylaw to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, numbered 2020-15.
Thank you very much. Third reading on the budget bylaw. Those in favor?
I will, very much, sir.
So,
Sir, I request a recorded vote on this.
okay, by Councillor Hunter. And I'm gonna call the vote. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
That would be yea.
Councillor Dillabaugh?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter? On this particular item, well, I moved it. I'm voting nay against it because I don't think we required our taxes to be raised enough to deal for infrastructure deficits, so.
Okay, I'm not so sure you can move a motion, vote against it, but I'm gonna allow it, so I have seen that done before.
Well, you can move it and still
Yeah.
vote against it, so.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Deschamps,
Yay, sorry.
and myself will vote yea, so motion is carried. And now I'm on 11B, which is adopt the tax rates for 2020. Councillor Hunter, you got that one as well.
Move myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that I move to grant leave to introduce a bylaw to provide for the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalties, interest, and default of payment thereof for 2020, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Adopting the rates, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. Third reading, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, or Councillor Deschamps, Councillor Dillabaugh, I guess it is here. Can't make out the scratch sometimes here. The bylaw to provide the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalties and interest in default of payment thereof for 2020 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-16.
Good. That one's easy.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and again unanimously. And so the rates are adopted. And now I'm at 11C, the automatic aid agreement with Augusta. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that the mover to grant leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize an automatic aid agreement with the Township of Augusta for fire rescue and emergency services, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and so that can proceed to third reading.
Move myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that a bylaw to authorize an automatic aid agreement with the Township of Augusta for fire rescue and emergency service be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-17.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. I'm at 11D, which is to establish a capital reserve fund. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to establish a dedicated capital reserve fund for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
And do we have a new cover page for the bylaw?
I don't at this time, but if you'd like to make a friendly amendment to add some words on that.
Well, I won't.
Whereas,
No, I won't interfere with the cover page. I'll just depend on staff to adjust the cover page. This is just going to adopt the bylaw. Okay, so first and second reading here for this bylaw. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. It's unanimous. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that a bylaw to establish a dedicated capital reserve fund for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-18.
Third reading. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And number 11E, updating the credit card policy. I think that's Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a credit card policy, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt a credit card policy be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-19.
Very much. Third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the emergency management bylaw, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to provide for the establishment of and adoption of an emergency management program for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, staff has done a lot of work getting the emergency management plan put to work. And those in favor, first and second reading. Motion is carried unanimously. Third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to provide for the establishment and adoption of an emergency management program for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-20.
So, and third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I'm going now to 11G, the vacant and abandoned buildings bylaw. And this bylaw is to be given first and second readings only, and will come back to committee in April. And I think Councillor Cameron, you have the motion for first and second reading.
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to regulate vacant and abandoned buildings with I think that should be within the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof. I
Okay.
think there's just that word,
Okay, so first and second reading, those in favor?
aye.
Motion is carried, and it's only gonna get first and second reading tonight. So, it's incumbent upon everyone to have a very close look at this bylaw now, because when it does come forward at the committee meeting, will be the kind of the last chance to express any concerns or things that you'd like to see changed on it.
Just a question.
Go ahead.
If in reading through that bylaw, there are a few things ahead of that committee meeting that we see, should we forward those along and see if they can get cleaned up before that, or shall we wait just a committee table and have that discussion?
Okay, so here's the way that works. If it's minor in nature, in other words, it's an editing question,
Yeah.
then it can be drawn to the attention of staff and they can clean up things like grammar and punctuation and sentence structure, things like that. But if it's substantive in nature, then it has to go for discussion. So if you take issue with a particular statement, policy statement, then that gets discussion at the committee level.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so now I'm at, I think, the council code of conduct policy for employee code of conduct policy. And again, that gets first and second reading only. Councillor Hunter.
And myself, seconded by Councillor Dilbaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to establish a code of conduct for employees of the Township of Register Cardinal. This shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, and those in favor of first and second reading? And the motion is carried. And so again, same comment, everybody should look at it very closely. If you have any concerns, get them ready for the discussion which will take place at the committee level. And now I'm at 11I, which is to amend Schedule B of Bylaw 2019-78 concerning Spencerville sewer rates, and I understand this is a mechanical cleanup. And Councillor Hunter, you were going to bring that one forward.
Myself, seconded Councillor Dilbaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend Bylaw 2019-78 to adopt estimates and impose sewer rates for users of the Spencerville sewer system, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, and I guess it's just a change to the schedule. Those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously, so third reading, please.
Moved myself, seconded by Councillor Dilbaugh, that a bylaw to amend Bylaw 2019-78 to adopt estimates and impose sewer rates for the users of the Spencerville sewage system be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and number 2020-21.
Thank you very much. Third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then we have 11I, which is the Port Community Capital Project Funding Policy. Councillor Dilbaugh.
Mr. Mayor, that's J.
Yes, my mistake, it's J.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the community capital project funding policy for the Port of Johnstown. This shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Those in favor, first and second reading?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. Third reading, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the bylaw to adopt the community capital project fund policy for the Port of Johnstown be now read the third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-22.
Thank you very much. Those in favor of third reading? Motion is carried, thank you. And now to item number 11K, the JRDR revised assessment schedule. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to levy the revised assessment of the James Riley DeWitt Richter Municipal Drain, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. And the schedule was not attached to my copies. Did the schedule get circulated in the agenda package? Did other people get the schedule?
Oh, I didn't get the schedule.
Okay. I think we saw the schedule at the committee meeting, but it's not attached to the package and it's not attached to this motion. But I'm gonna call the question, first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And it can proceed to third reading. Third reading, Councillor.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that a bylaw to levy the revised assessment of the James Riley DeWitt Richter Municipal Drain be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-23.
Thank you very much. Third reading, those in favor?
Record, please.
Requested by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Okay, I'm gonna call a recorded vote. Councillor Hunter, Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps?
Nay.
And myself, I'll vote yea. The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, so that takes that out of the way, and now I'm at item number 12, which is the CAO's administrative update. And I'm going to call for the motion to come forward, and I won't call a question on the motion until after the CAO has made his report, and we've had a good opportunity to question him. And so the motion is coming from Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron. The Municipality Council received the CEO's administrative report as presented.
Okay, so Mr. CAO, your report, if you'd like to highlight it, and then we'll have some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to advise that senior management is working on reviewing the procurement policy. It's to be reviewed every 5 years, so later on this year we'll be bringing that forward for council. The job site challenge submission is before you tonight. I just wanted to mention that members of the CDC attended the Leeds Grenville trade show on March 6th and 7th. With respect to building, the CBO is working on the annual report to present at the April Admin and Finance meeting. And there are 12, I guess, at various stages of the permitting and building stages. So,
12,
either applications or permits issued with respect to that.
okay.
And under Treasury, the Treasurer is working on the financial information return. And the auditors, as of now, are scheduled to present the financial statements at the April 27th council meeting.
Now, they understand that there will be an in-camera session in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, they are aware.
Thank you.
Under facilities and recreation, staff have started their normal spring maintenance operations with the Spencerville Arena closure. And one item that I do want to discuss with council tonight is the Cardinal Arena. It would appear as of right now that 75% of the spring rentals that have now been canceled. So it probably serves well to start the process of removing the ice from the Ingredion Center starting this week.
Okay, so how can we reflect that in your report? You're making a recommendation that the ice be removed from the Cardinal Arena, right?
Yes, I would say we proceed with removing that. It was to be discussed. I think we reevaluated it at April 6th, but I think that with the direction items are heading and with the new information, we might better start to proceed in that direction.
Okay, so just before we go on now, I'm taking that as a recommendation from the CAO during his report. Can I get a nodding of heads that we have consensus on that recommendation, to execute on that recommendation? So the minutes will reflect that council provided consensus to remove the ice at the Spencerville Arena. Cardinal Arena, sorry. So, sorry, Mr. CAO, go ahead.
No, that's thank you. As of right now, we're still advertising for summer lifeguards. With respect to public works, crews are patching roads and starting to perform road assessments. And gravel, dust, and the truck tender results have closed, and they'll be coming forward at the April Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities meeting. Environmental Services, I guess of note, Cardinal Wastewater, the Waddell Street sewer lining, request for quotations has been issued and closes on March 31st. And very similar, the Lagoon Splitter Box, and it closes also on March 31st, 2020. Under Fire Department, rescue truck is progressing on schedule. And the automatic aid agreement with Township Augusta was before council tonight. And hopefully in the next little while, the fire chiefs and CAOs for Prescott and Intersburg Cardinal will be discussing that fire service agreement. Also, just wanted to note with respect to the website dedicated to township services on the spread of COVID-19.
Okay, now, questions for the CAO, please? Councillor Cameron?
Yes, Mr. CAO, I just have a couple. Under pools on page 2, still advertising for summer lifeguards. Are we having a problem this year, or is this just normal advertising?
Thank you. The facility manager has indicated that there's still 3 positions to fill.
Okay.
It does appear that there may be some difficulty in filling those.
Yeah, with the circumstances that's out there. And then under operations, prepping for sandbag production, everything is proceeding there for the flood, for the anticipated flooding. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, yes.
Okay, so would you give us a little bit more detail on that?
Certainly. So right now, as I indicated in the report, that the wooden pallets and empty bags have been received. As some time permits, the Public Works is filling some sandbags and storing them at this particular time. One of the difficulties right now with the half load restrictions is getting the sand in. So once half load restrictions are lifted, then we'll look at the locations where we will drop off bulk sand.
But in the meantime, when we're filling the bags at our facility, a half a load is 200 or 300 bags. Do we have 200 or 300 bags filled?
I'm not sure of the quantity of bags that we have filled at this time.
So can we get a report for that at the Admin Finance Committee meeting?
Certainly.
Know what our progress is there? Councillor Dillawa, you wanted in here?
Yes, the rentals, we didn't hit on that. Working with rentals to adjust schedules is, Mike's trying to, just because it was postponed, is that what you're saying? Like some of our,
Yes.
some of our stuff at South Edwardsburg's been booked for Buck and Doe, now it's canceled. He's just trying to.
Yes, try and do it to work with those potential renters to move that schedule.
Great, thank you. And prepping for sandbag production, Public Works, gee, we should have a couple bodies from the recreation ready too, shouldn't we? That can help chip in there on sandbags, filling up sandbags.
Through the mayor, we're certainly looking at readjusting certain roles during this time to make people available.
Thank you.
Councillor Hunter?
No, I'll wait up under inquiry side. See you.
Deputy Mayor?
Nope, nothing.
One question from me on facilities and recreation, page 259. We had given pre-budget approval for the purchase of a half-ton truck for the Recreation Facilities Department. Was there an execution of that authorization?
Through the mayor, yes, there was an execution of that. the truck has now arrived.
Okay, and I believe we agreed to, if I recall correctly, we agreed to finance it. Yes, we agreed to finance it. Did we manage to get 0% financing on a 2019, I think it was?
Yes, we did.
Ah, okay, thank you. And a couple of other things. The Waddell Street sewer lining and the lagoon splitter box. We're getting tenders in. I hope that those tenders were issued on a lowest bid, not necessarily received basis. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. These two are these capital projects or are these normal operations?
These would have been capital projects.
Okay, the reason I'm saying that is because I sense that as we get a little bit further along here, we're maybe going to have to do some adjustments to our budget and curtail some spending as a means of conserving some cash, or another way of putting it, avoiding borrowing. So I just put that out there. And I guess the other thing I want to kind of mention is that all through County Council, those that have been deemed non-essential workers have basically been sent home. There are many of them that have no option because of the nature of their jobs to actually work from home. So they were sent home as non-essential, still being paid. And now the decision that will be made, and it'll be mostly made by County Council, I think. Recommendation will come forward at the committee meeting at the 1st of April. But I'm thinking that there's going to have to be a lot of layoffs that are related to COVID-19. And just to the CAO and to the Treasurer for benefit of Council, County Council now has introduced several additional budget lines, if I can say, budget accounts, where they are tracking all of our COVID-19 costs. And those costs include not only our purchases of our consumables, but also other purchases that we make on a day-to-day operations, and also labor costs related to COVID-19 and benefit costs. We continue to pay benefits related to COVID-19. And this is all being done because we have assurances from the province that there will be compensations. So I'm just making the point that staff should be setting up a process to track those kinds of costs. Easier to track them now at the beginning than it is as we get further on into the process. Anyway, are there any other questions for the CAO? Hearing none, about to call for the question on the motion to receive the CAO's report as presented. Those in favor?
I think the CAO had something else to say.
Oh, did you have more to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to indicate that the treasurer has already set up an account to track that. She's going to be proactive in that regard.
Good, thank you very much. Pleased to hear that. And so now I'm at item 13, which is council inquiries or notices of motion. Anybody have anything to bring forward there? So I have Deputy Mayor Deschamps and then Councillor Hunter.
And then myself, yes.
Okay.
If I could, through the mayor to the CAO, and maybe through this group as well, it is my thought that unless there is something absolutely pressing on the agenda that cannot be moved a week out to one of the other committees, that consideration may be that the April meeting of the Community Development Committee be postponed or canceled. With one of the members having heart issues, we have a firefighter on there, and we have a United Counties worker on there as well. I think in the public's best interest that committee be rescheduled at this time.
Okay, so how do we action that? Well, you're the chair. Are you asking that the meeting be canceled?
Yes. or just canceled, and we'll, anything that is, for the agenda that can be moved to one of the other, committees, that maybe we can do that. If there's a severance that needs to be dealt with or something, like that, I haven't seen the agenda yet. That can be moved to that, and then everything else we can deal with, in our May meeting.
Okay, and so the staff, I'll consult with staff to see which of the other two committees we're gonna bring that forward to. So that's Deputy Mayor Deschamps, Council CDC for April. And Councillor Hunter, you're next.
Well, we're on the COVID-19. We're discussing help for our residents, and we discussed help for our residents for the flooding. I want to discuss help for our employees. We have one employee that I know has an underlying health issue that works for us. I'd like to see the council take the lead here of any of our township employees that have underlying health issues right now, that we send them home with full pay until this clears. Because I don't think we should be putting them at risk when they have a definite underlying health thing, that if they did contact us on the job, it could be life-threatening for them. So they're not requesting it, but I think it's in our best interest to take the lead. I believe there's only one that I know of, but
Well,
the
it ties
person
in
does
with,
have a serious health issue, and I think that we should take the lead.
now how, of course, then it becomes the touchy question of do you approach them directly, or do you offer them the option?
Well, I'd offer them the option, and that'd be his choice, but
With our recommendation.
with our recommendation that we give them full pay and let them go home. And I think that's in our best interest, because we can't afford to lose highly trained people that are working for us. We don't want to lose them by laying them off and them going someplace else, or having to go someplace else, or then we don't want to lose them by leaving them on that job and losing them permanent. So,
But it should be clear that, you know, they're going home with pay, but at some point we may have to issue ROEs.
yeah.
You know, there's quite a number of ROEs being issued these days. Quite a number.
I don't have.
So I'd just like to get some reaction from the CAO.
Well, we can certainly have that discussion. Yeah, I'll have to, I would prefer to have a little bit of time to process that, on, you know, taking a direction like that, and what may be the chain reaction with a move like that.
Okay, so at this point in time, you haven't had anybody requesting?
At this time, we have not had any member requesting. We have had one that was interested in using vacation time for a week, which we've accommodated. We've accommodated a few work schedules upon request, but nothing with respect to this degree.
Okay. Deputy, or Councillor?
Do we have any short-term leave, short-term disability?
I don't know if that'll cover it.
I think there's a number of, it raises a good point, and I think we just wanna.
I'd be very careful going down the short-term disability. Short-term disability is a claim.
That's why I'm thinking if you can give us some time to process some of this before.
Well, the issue's been raised, and it's not gonna go away, I think.
Nope.
I think it's gonna, all businesses and stuff are dealing with this. I think the lead businesses, and I think we need to set an example here for our businesses in the area, that we have a lot of highly trained and very capable people that work for us. And we are gonna come to a time, no doubt, that if there's no more rinks to repair, and we're not gonna be able to work in the parks, cause it's gonna look like the parks are open if we have a whole bunch of people working in them. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to send people home. I don't think we can afford to take the chance of losing them. I think we need to pay them, if it means laying them off and topping them up to full wages, whatever it takes to top them up to it, to keep them, if they're not going anyplace else, if they're still gonna be available for us to come back. I think that's what the township has to do. For some of them, one in particular, I think it's not gonna break us to ask him if he'd like to go home and get paid for a couple of weeks until we see how things play out here. And if it comes to the point, we offer them the chance, well, we're gonna apply for your thing, and we'll keep your pay on until you get it, and then we'll just make up the difference between your pay until we're able to bring you back to work. So it's not gonna put them in a financial stress. As you said, there's gonna be government help here. If we have employees that have to go home, or we have to let go home on account of the government's told us to shut all our recreation facilities down and stuff, I think we're gonna come out. We did in the ice storm. We had to hire extra people and pay extra stuff, and we got paid back for 95% of it, or so we got reimbursed for it. I think we will in this case too, but I think we need to set an example for our employees, how valuable we figure they are to us, and we're not gonna put them at risk. And we don't wanna lead our public astray by having out on the beaches and stuff, that our guys are there picking up garbage and mowing grass and trimming everything up and keeping everything great. Well, township employees are all down there, so why can't we go down
And all over the place, the municipalities are closing their parks. Yeah.
I think just to counter maybe a little bit of what John is saying, in that, you know, there is legislation being passed, I believe, tomorrow in the federal government that will cover all workers. You know, I don't know if it'll apply here for the extra 10% wage top-ups. I think that'll be more small business, but you know, every employee is entitled at present to ask for an ROE, to stay home if they feel that they're either sick or at risk of being sick, and that's available to everyone already. So worrying about them leaving us under these conditions to go to work somewhere else, I don't know that that's really a worry. I think everybody's going to find themselves in those same and similar positions. We're not the only township that's going to be in this situation. Every small business, every township is encountering the exact same thing today, tomorrow, moving forward with all of their employees, and we're all hoping for other levels of government to help us out, but instantly offering a full top-up in pay to one employee, I think that's already been covered in legislation that's coming through, and I certainly wouldn't be in favor of something like that. So.
We should work for the township.
Me too.
I've been with the company for 19 years and got let go Thursday.
Yeah.
Longest employee there. So they don't really care where I go.
Well,
And I have a hard
That's not
time.
the mark of a good employer.
Yeah, well, I have a hard time believing in that. You know?
no, but I think what employers are trying to do, I mean, everybody understands that the high-risk individuals are the older folks.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that, and I think what employers are trying to do is they're trying to protect those older folks. I'm not talking personally, it's just that that's the profile of where the cases are coming. And that's just the reality of the situation that we're dealing with. And I think Councillor Hunter's making a strong point. You know, sometimes, and I think I know the individual that you're talking about, which is long past the 65-year age, is that the one you're thinking? No?
Yeah.
Oh.
We need, yeah, we.
We don't wanna get into it
Yes,
personal.
we do need to be careful that we.
Yeah. I realize that. Okay, so we won't go any further with this discussion. I think, Mr. CAO, you've heard some discussion. Councillor Cameron?
Yes, I would, to be quite truthful, I would feel better if this had come from the department head's manager, or the department's manager. I think that's the chain of command, that the employee should go to his supervisor, and then his supervisor should come to us. But I also have concerns as well, and I really wish this was an in-camera session, because we are talking about specific individuals, and I just feel that there could be a domino effect there if somewhere down the line, if this gets worse and worse and worse, and we've allowed one member and granted him full pay, if we do get to the state where we have to perhaps lay some people off, this isn't going to look good for us at all. We've given one person full pay, and then we may have to lay people off. And I will concur with Deputy Mayor Deschamps that there is legislation already in effect out there. Premier Ford has said no one will suffer wage-wise from this virus. He's already said that. So that's my concerns, Mr. Mayor. I do have concerns.
Okay, are there any other notices of motion council requires at this
Yes.
section of the meeting?
Yes, I have a new one. I would like to go through the chair to the CAO. Mr. CAO, would it be possible somewhere down the line, the packages that we're receiving are very difficult to go through because the items are not marked like 7A, 7B, 7C, like they used to be a while ago. The system we use runs it together, and it's very difficult to separate it. I go through and I put all the page numbers down, where they start, where they end, and then I put the item 7A, 7B, whatever, on it. Would it be possible, even on just on our electronic copy, to have those items identified as per how they appear on the agenda? And then I can just scroll through it on my electronic and say, okay, page number, it starts this. So if that would be possible in the near future, it would be very much appreciated by this councilor. Thank you.
And whatever appears on the electronic version automatically prints out.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
One other do with a drainage issue in Ventnor. When we repaired the road there, I believe it was 2 years ago, they put the new pavement down in part of the main street in Ventnor, up to the hill by Bert Dobie's house. When they did, they removed the old sidewalk, which was broke up all the way through, which neighbors had no problem with that. But now in heavy snow area, when the road's been redone, it was built up. And anybody been in Ventnor in front of what used to be the Anglican church or Presbyterian church there, a catch basin was put. I'm not sure where the drain goes to from it, but there was a catch basin put there to put the water right on the edge of the pavement. But when they took the sidewalk out, now the property level slopes all down towards the house, and the water comes off the hill and just never gets to the catch basin. The catch basin is higher than where the water runs, and it runs in. The gentleman family called me the other day after the big rain there and thaw there to see, and the water was right up to their front door coming off the road and laying right across their walkway. Now they said they really don't know what. They said it was brought up to Road Department a couple of times over the years, and they never heard nothing back about it. I told them I didn't know what I could do, but I'd bring it up. It looked to me like really the only way to correct it almost would be to put some, I don't think we can put a sidewalk back in, but we need to, where the sidewalk was, raise that up with compacted gravel or something and make it a slope that when the water comes off the hill, that instead of running into the driveway and down across to their front door, that it actually goes to the catch basin, because I don't think we're gonna try to dig the catch basin out to lower it or move it over, so. And I'd like to have the roads department look at it and come up with some, see if they can't come up with some kind of a solution, because the next day, that morning it had froze, the next day it down and thawed and it was all ground and absorbed it and all went away, but it still don't like for days, so, go to step out your front door and there's 6 inches of water or ice there, so.
Okay, so now this was brought up, but I think I saw a chain of emails on that, and it was mentioned in those emails that it had already been brought to the attention of Public Works once.
Yeah.
So is there any follow-up from Public Works?
So for the mayor, yeah, the roads department has been there, reviewed it, and I believe has spoken with the owner, and a plan is developed to hopefully mitigate that later on this year.
I have went and talked to him, because when I talked to her, nobody'd ever come to see her at that point.
I'm just going by last week with respect to the road super indicated that he had spoken with them. I'll confirm that though.
Okay, if you would.
Yep.
Okay, anything else under notices of motion, mayors, and council inquiries? No, nothing else. Okay, so if you'd want to, Councilor Hunter, if you'd want to follow up with that on one of the committee meetings, we'll get a further update on one of the committee meetings. So we're at item number 14, the mayor's report, a rather exhaustive report tonight. I'm going to try to be quick, but talking first about the industrial park hydro needs study. Basically that study is complete except for one manufacturer who still hasn't signed on. But we've now got a system that once he signs on, we get the information that we need immediately. The Eastern Ontario Regional Hydro meeting that was scheduled for March 11 in Belleville was changed to a webinar, and the end result of it was that it wasn't a very satisfying. I didn't even attend the webinar because I couldn't get properly hooked up to it. So I have made a contact with the IESO, and I have a way of getting our input directly into the IESO when the study is complete. The St. Lawrence Corridor Economic Development Commission monthly meeting scheduled for March the 25th has been canceled. Just a quick note, King's Lock Distillery has been quite successful over the weekend in switching from the production of drinking alcohols to the creation of hand sanitizers.
Right here.
And they've been very, very busy. Is that the one that they're using?
Yeah.
Sold out.
That's the one they're using, yeah. They can't keep it in stock. And she's looking for another product that kind of enhances it. And some very big orders already coming in. Number 4, I did indicate earlier that now that we've approved the job site challenge submission, the next step here is to engage Novatech to prepare a report which will identify all of the steps required to bring the Cedar Grove Road site to an investment-ready status, along with the required permits, timelines, and cost estimates. Now, Novatech is going to prepare that scope of work and the engineering and planning cost estimates required. They'll be preparing that on an RFQ basis, and consulting costs, if necessary, will be paid by the township and then billed back to the province if we ever can reach an agreement with the province. Now, I think I've kind of explained to Novatech that they're preparing this on, we would engage them to prepare it because we need to have that information available to us. And we'll see what their estimate is going to be. They're going to give me an estimate of what it would cost to prepare it, and then they'll prepare it. So just sort of warning you ahead of time that we'll bring that forward in one of the April meetings. So, further to that, with councillors Cameron and Dillabaugh, I attended the South Nation Conservation First Nation Eastern Ontario Working Group meeting on March the 10th in Finch. Very interesting to me to find out that South Nation has been convening these First Nation working group meetings for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And it does provide an opportunity for face-to-face dialogue with both the Algonquins and the Mohawks. So a very interesting meeting, good dialogue, and provide an opportunity for some face-to-face discussions. And we'll go back again to the September meeting. The Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus met on March the 12th and 13th to develop a work plan and set priorities for the coming year. A couple of very interesting ones. I don't know how much traction they're going to get because everybody is engaged with COVID-19 right now. And talking about COVID-19, the Municipal Emergency Act 2020 was passed on Thursday, March the 19th. And the question is, that Municipal Emergency Act allows for municipalities to adjust their procedural bylaws to enable electronic participation at a meeting, and indicates that those people who are participating electronically are part of the quorum of the meeting. So we no longer have to worry about having 3 people in this room to make a quorum. If we have 2 people in this room and 3 people on electronic, that constitutes a 5-member quorum. So that's new. At the present time, our procedural bylaw does not provide for electronic meetings. And my question to council and for discussion is, should we be directing staff to bring forward draft changes to our procedural bylaw to enable electronic participation at the council meetings during the period of this COVID-19 emergency? So I'm looking for some discussion there, and if there's consensus around the table, we'll direct staff to bring forward those changes at the Admin Finance Committee meeting, unless there's a will amongst council to do this faster than through the normal meetings. So, floor is open for discussion. Deputy Mayor.
My question through you to the CAO would be, do we have the video capability and the internet speeds to do so?
Through the mayor, I believe we are somewhat limited with if you're speaking with respect to looking to try to live stream in that end of it, and I'm not sure what at this stage what kind of flexibility is there with the electronic participation, whether phone is acceptable and those particular items.
Okay, so, and I see this as sort of a two-step process, but both steps should be able to proceed concurrently. There's the political side of making changes to the procedural bylaw, and there's the technical side of determining whether we can do so or not. There's no reason we can't go down the political side and make the changes to the procedural bylaw, even though we may not ever necessarily be able to achieve it in reality. We can still make the procedural bylaw changes which will enable it. So my question still stands. Follow up?
Yeah, so a follow-up to that would be, if we have the capabilities, I would be in favor of video or electronic participation only until pandemic conditions are happening. Once they end, I think that would end it for the video participation portion for myself. I plan, as long as I'm healthy and able to be here for meetings, to be here for meetings, so.
Okay, and the legislation which I'm talking about, it only addressed itself to quorum lasting during the period of the pandemic. But you're saying not just the quorum, but the whole idea of electronic meetings would just be till the period of the pandemic?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so that's your position. Councillor Hunter?
Well, wouldn't make much difference for me, because I know I don't have electronic capability from our place, because my daughter's tried it and it don't work, so we haven't got the ability there, but my point is, if we're gonna change our procedural bylaw, I agree with the deputy mayor, it should just be for the state of emergency, but I would suggest that we change our bylaw to read so that we don't have to change it again, that it reads that it can be enacted during any time the province declares a state of emergency, rather than if something happens 3 years down the road, council has to go through this again and change the bylaw again. So I think if we do agree to change it, that during the state of emergency that we can do, that we change it, that it's written so that it's anytime the province declares a state of emergency, that we're capable of doing it. So,
Okay, so I have two people that are speaking in favor of drafting the necessary changes. Councillor Cameron.
I actually concur with both Councillor Hunter and the deputy mayor. However, we don't have to be really high tech here. We can go back to the telephone and do a conference call.
Yes, that's correct.
So we don't really have to be all that high tech. So yes, I think as long as there's a province-wide emergency, then I think we should have that capability to either use a telephone or at the bare minimum.
Okay, so I have three in favor of drafting for changes to the procedural bylaw. Councillor
I agree
Councillor
with
Killow.
Councillor Hunter. If we're gonna do it for emergency only, and with Mr. Hunter, we can do it video or land phone.
Okay, so
We can do it.
the way I read the table, and I'm looking for a nodding of heads, is that the council has arrived at a consensus to direct staff to draft changes to our procedural bylaw, which would enable electronic participation at a meeting in whatever form can be arranged, recognizing the fact that electronic participation contributes to quorum, and that these arrangements would be in effect during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic only until the emergency has been declared ended. That's the way I would like to see this reflected in the minutes. And you've got the recording of the tape to go by.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, would it not be better to allow the flexibility of during a period where an emergency has been declared by the province, the cabinet, or the municipality itself, for this to potentially apply?
Okay, right, you're bringing up another issue in the case of a municipal emergency. How many, let's just go around the table quickly. How many think that these special electronic participation arrangements should apply during a period of a municipal emergency? Remembering, of course, that the enabling legislation only addresses itself to the question of quorum during the provincial emergency. So yes, it does. Only to the provincial emergency.
I believe the 4-page document that I sent, it had indicated whether the province declared an emergency, the cabinet, or a municipality declared an emergency.
Okay, well, let's get that sorted out between now and the meeting, that's where the draft comes through.
but I don't think, regardless where we put it in the municipality, what we all agreed to was anytime the province.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to mention COVID-19 in there, we're just a provincial emergency declared.
Or the feds.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just COVID.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Councillor.
Okay. All right, so I think we've got the basis of a direction for staff to begin drafting here. I think there's a number of little issues that we can sort out at the committee level. I don't want to get into doing the committee work here at the meeting.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
You know, Dave, you provided, or CAO, you provided us with the information sort of template that we got, the 4-pager. But do we have access to, or did we get through correspondence, the full act? Like the one that they put in that we're talking about? Did I miss it somewhere, or is this isn't the whole legislation that they passed, this piece, this 4-page document? It's like bigger than that, isn't it? Like it just says key concepts, it doesn't actually, I'm sure the actual act itself is more.
Yeah, I wanna say it was only a 3 or 4 page.
Oh, it's, you know what, I see it there now, select references.
Yep.
So maybe there is under law statute there, okay,
There is.
okay. I just wanna copy the full thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so that, that's that one. I'm now moving on with my report here. I had a phone call this afternoon from a member of the Board of Directors of the United Way. The United Way is making an emergency appeal for funds to support the more needy folks within the counties. And they're making it very clear to me that this is strictly a very limited appeal to large numbers of folks that can write checks without a lot of description. There will be media releases out the next day or so with a mechanism by which you can make a donation to the United Way for that specific purpose. I'm moving to my next item, which is to inform council that as of today, the town of Prescott, the mayor of Prescott has declared a municipal emergency. And I know that I received a phone call basically informing me that it had been done, but suggesting that the neighbors should be thinking likewise. However, just to report that on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock, we convened the meeting of the Municipal Emergency Control Group here in this office. I received reports from all of the members of the control group, and as a result of those reports, I saw no real reason to proclaim or declare an emergency, a municipal emergency in our township. And further to that, this morning at 9 o'clock, the United Counties convened a meeting of the United Counties Municipal Emergency Control Group. We spent about a half an hour on the phone with Dr. Stewart, who's a member of the control group. OPP were involved, fire services were involved, social services were involved, housing services were involved. They're all members of the United Counties Emergency Control Group. We had long discussion with Dr. Stewart, and I just want to put a little bit of context around this. In the case of a health pandemic, such as the one that we're in right now, the role of the United Counties is to support the Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville emergency health emergency management plan. And so the first question to Dr. Stewart was, have you activated the United County, the Leeds, Grenville, Lanark Health Unit Emergency Health Plan? Now, she didn't answer the question directly, she spoke around it, but the second question to her was, if you've activated the plan, and you could say that she said that she had, but I haven't seen any declaration that she has. The next question is, what specifically can the United Counties do to assist you in activating your plan? And after a lot of talking, basically she came down to one thing. If the mayors would please just reinforce the message of social separation or distancing, social distancing, that's about all I can ask of you at this time. Now, the police were on the line, the fire services were on the line, and basically, as a result of that discussion, and we reviewed once again the provincial checklist of things to be considered before the warden would declare a county emergency. And there was nothing in the checklist that would give me sufficient reason to declare a county emergency. with the exception of one vague comment, that it would be to assist in the messaging. But there is nothing to be gained from a power point of view. We gain no additional powers under the declaration of an emergency, other than the fact that once the declaration of an emergency is declared, the staff, a lot of the powers of council are extended to the staff, where they can go and spend way beyond the budgets without consulting council. Now, many of us as mayors are reluctant to pass on that governing power unless we absolutely have to. And in this particular case, I don't deem it to be necessary, neither does the county CAO. So the whole thing is kind of a bad situation, because there are now two entities within our county. I understand that the township of Leeds and Grenville, or Leeds and the Thousand Islands, has declared a municipal emergency today, and then the town of Prescott has. So I'm telling you where I'm standing. The county council will convene again a meeting of the Emergency Operations Center next Monday, and between the CAO and myself, we'll determine whether or not we're going to convene another meeting of the Township Emergency Operations Center later on this week. A number of questions to be asked. By declaring a municipal emergency, what additional powers would you gain? If declaring an emergency does not give you additional powers, or enable you to access additional monies, then what is the purpose? And if the purpose is strictly for the purpose of piling on, because everybody else is piling on, then that just adds to the panic in the community. And as one person said to me today, for crying out loud, don't do that. It just drives the crazies crazier. So that's where I'm standing, and I'm looking for guidance from my council. And by the way, just so you know, when the Municipal Emergency Control Group is convened, it's very clear who the members are as laid out in the emergency plan that we passed tonight. Now, I invited Deputy Mayor Deschamps to be here on Friday, because he stands in my stead if I'm not able to function. So I thought it was important that he be here. Now, I look for direction from the CAO, and if we feel that it would be to the benefit of council to monitor the next meeting, we will make that invitation, but I've been kind of warned against it, and I want you to be aware of the fact that I'll report those meetings as fully and as quickly as I can. So are there any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Having read through our emergency management plan and most of the things, what would it actually take? Like, I mean, I know a rail disaster where we couldn't meet our commitments, then we declare the state of emergency, and then we get the extra help. We did it through the exercise earlier this year with that we've been hacked. In this case, what exactly would have to happen for it to constitute an emergency? I wonder, like, when I've seen the other declarations, I kind of wondered, well, what exactly makes it so that it's actually an emergency? I mean, most of business seems to be, for the township portion of it, seems to be kind of going on as normal, other than collecting maybe taxes and recreational services.
So, well, I think some of the reasons why you might want to declare an emergency in certain situations is if volunteers are being employed by the municipality to support the emergency, that the volunteers can be provided with some WSI this stage, that doesn't seem to be the case. But the other, I guess the other reason is that it can demonstrate to the residents that the municipality is taking the current situation seriously. And just by declaring an emergency certainly doesn't mean that you're automatically spreading panic. It recognizes that it's a serious situation, that we're taking it serious, and that we're adapting. It can show some confidence that that there's a plan, that we have business continuity, that we're working through those periods.
Go ahead.
So for me, declaring a state of emergency seems, at this point, and that may come for an actual emergency reason, but having sat through the hack preparedness discussion and then actually sitting through the mayor and the CAO guided meeting the other day and watching how prepared everyone was and how serious they took it, as long as the common messaging and the good messaging continues to come out of the staff and the township, and as long as we're all on the same page still, at this point I see no need for anything further. I think everyone's doing a really good job inspiring confidence so far.
And just picking up on that, speaking to one of the other mayors today, and he was of the same opinion, Pat, if what we're doing is reinforcing, if our job is to reinforce the message that that the feds and the province are putting out, we don't have to declare an emergency to reinforce that message. We can reinforce that message by a dozen other things, some of which we already outlined in our meeting from, the only problem is it doesn't indicate that the direction is coming from the elected officials, but we'll make sure that when the next one goes out, it indicates that the direction is coming from the elected officials here. Basically what it's saying is that the council is taking this serious. The council, I'm representing the council at those meetings as head of council. So it's the council that's speaking when I attend those meetings. And when I make the decision, it'll be the council that's making the decision. I'm speaking to the council when I make the decision. So unless, the situation is fluid, and we understand that it's fluid, and we also understand that there's a fair amount of pressure to conform. I just don't want to be acting for the sake of conformity rather than acting for the sake of accomplishing something. So anyway, that's where we sit, looking for your guidance during the next few days. Call me anytime, and certainly if we convene a meeting during this week, we'll let you know that at least that it's being confirmed, and if you have questions following it, give me a call or call Dave, and there will definitely be press releases issued at the end of each of those meetings of the emergency control group. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm about to go on with the question period, and then
Hold on, I have your receiving the mayor's report before you
thank
go
you.
further. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Very good, thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And then looking for the confirmatory bylaw, I think, or no, I guess there's a question period first. Nobody here, and closed session we have none, so now I'm looking for the confirmatory bylaw.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-24.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried, thank you. And so now I'm looking for the motion to adjourn.
I got the Dilba motion here. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Dilba. The municipal council is now adjourned at 8:44 p.m.
The Dilba motion. All right,
How'd you get that?
non-debatable, those in favor?
You're
Motion
second.
is carried.
Usually
Now we'll
those-
have our little,